Welcome to Up Your Confidence. It's your destination podcast for female listeners seeking to build self-esteem for maximize leadership and enhance performance at work and in life. As usual, our goal is to equip, empower, and elevate and enhance your confidence in women all over the world. And we really aim to inspire women to leverage your confidence as a key ingredient to reaching your God given potential. So, today I am excited to share that we are celebrating 5 years of this Up Your Confidence podcast. Yes, 5 whole years. We launched in April 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, if you guys recall. For those of you that have been with us for that long. But really, the heart of Up Your Confidence started long before that. So let me take you back to 2016. That's when we really started, 4 years before I ever hit record right here on this computer. When I was already using the hashtag Up Your Confidence to empower other online. The sparkle really came from a real life coaching experience with a young woman that I work with. And really on this podcast today, which the title of the podcast, if I haven't told you, is Consistency Build Confidence. Because I am a product, of what I actually preach. Thank God, right? Let me repeat again. I am the product of what I actually teach and preach every day. So let's talk about it. So I hire, this lady. She was hired in the summer of 2015, right after she complete her master degree. We'll call her Anna. Nice name. We call her Anna just to keep her privacy. Super bright young lady, full of potential. Although she wasn't on my team, I was definitely involved in her hiring process. And as I told you in previous episode or in my master class, um, and we're gonna talk about the master class again because it's coming back for all of you that was asking, you missed the master class, you don't know what happened, and you want to be in the know. We are bringing back the master class. So side note, the master class is coming back. But I was involved in the hiring process as I mentioned to you guys because I love hiring people. So whenever I'm in a company and they are hiring, you will always hear and see me around. So I was in the hiring process and I kept an eye on her progress because I truly care about building strong teams. That's just part of, my DNA and what I do as a manager and as a leader. And I'm true to this. I have not been talking about this just now. I have been true to this forever and ever. 10 year at least. Then around nearly, so she started like in summer 2015, if I recall, right? So then around early 2016, I would say in the spring, she approached me in the company in the cafeteria one day because obviously she's not in my team, but I see her around and I talk to my team member based on, because I know everybody quality of work based on really the quota they deliver and the start. So I have an idea of like who is pulling the weight in the company and who is not, right? That's just the role of a good leader. So then she approached me frantically asking me, and I don't remember the detail of the story because that's just how my brain works. I'm old, I'm 40 plus, so I don't remember the exact detail because actually I've told this story in my trailer, which was like 5 years ago. So if you go back to my trailer, you will get the real deal. This here, I'm just giving you the gist of the story as I recall. But I remember that she met me in the cafeteria and she started talking to me about how she just wanted to quit. So then I invite her to have a one-on-one meeting with me. And I was really surprised. Like, why do you want to quit? You're doing a good job. Everything seemed to be doing well. So what is the problem here? And that's when she shared with me that things are not going well and that she is like tired, literally. She's tired. And I knew because I knew that she's doing a good job because, like I say, I review code, the performance metric across the team, so I know she was doing a good job. So she was asking if she can be transferred in my team because at that time not bragging, but just giving fact. I was leading the highest, the best high performance team in the company back then. So all the manager, I was training even the manager to just make the team become high performance. That was just something that I was doing, and that was a fact. So for the next 6 months, I offer that, I am going to train her. Instead of her moving into my team, I decide that, I will coach you, you know. And so what we started doing was we were meeting regularly, and I gave her some practical advice on how to navigate the challenge on her space and yes, up her confidence. So our regular meeting allow us to help her navigate everything she was going through. So she became my unofficial Up Your Confidence coaching client. For those of you that are listening, the podcast, I'm putting air quote, right? Unofficial, because obviously I was not paid, but you always start somewhere, right? So that coaching experience taught me something priceless. That confidence matter more than intelligence. That became my motto. Confidence is more important than intelligence. I started sharing this insight with others in 2017, and I did my first live video on confidence in 2017 on one of these platforms that I forgot, but it was kind of like the beginning of TikTok, but it was not really. But it was one of those platforms where you do live video, and I didn't do it to go viral. That was not my goal, and that has never been my goal. To be truthful, I just wanted to help people realize that they were playing small, and I believe, and I still believe that when people raise their confidence level, they unlock their power. And because that lady, or that young lady, Anna, was a proof that you can literally have all the talent, all the intelligence in the world, but somebody can break your confidence to a point where you want to move out of that space. And there's so many statistics that prove that that's what happened to women, and especially in the area that I worked for 25 years, women in tech, that's exactly what happened, you know? And any woman that is in a male dominated industry, you guys have no idea how much confidence you have to have on a daily basis to just show up at work. You have no idea how much confidence women need every day to just show up and do what they do, because every corner, everyone, men or women, they are trying to tame down your confidence. And for the last 5 years or 10 years, I shall say, I have done so much research and so much reading that this has been so true, right? That when we wake up, men and women, and I'm raising a boy and a girl, the confidence is already different from a boy. It's like built in. And for girls, we also have confidence as well. But society tame our confidence down. People comment, tame our confidence down. So by 2019, I wanted to go deeper. I've been thinking about writing a book for a long time, but I wasn't really ready mentally, because prior to that, I have spent literally 10 years trying to publish my own cookbook, C Square Kitchen. Yes, on Amazon. You can always go check it out. You never stop advertising for your own stuff. So own your power. C Square Kitchen is on Amazon. If you type it, that's the only Ziswa Kitchen cookbook that's out there. So the idea of writing another book felt like heavy, because my last one took me nearly 10 years, and I was not going to spend another 10 years to write another one. And here we are. So then one of my mentees shared with me back in 2019 exactly, that she started a podcast, and I look into it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Podcast, what is that? So I started listening to her, and then started listening to more podcasts, and I fell in love with the format. I was like, okay, I like the free format where I can just come and talk about what's on my mind, on filter, on editing, and just make it happen. So I was like, this could be, a good avenue for me for what I want to do with this message of Up Your Confidence. So I decided that, as we head into 2020, that would be my year of doing a podcast. Okay. So, of course, life has other plans, and the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, I start testing the water with doing just some live video. Like, let me just get used to talking on the camera or just talking to people. And another side of my life is I'm a public speaker. I've been a Toastmaster for over 20 years by now. So I'm not afraid of talking, you know. I'm not afraid of sharing my idea. But it was just like podcast was something different, right? The fact that it's on filter is also can be dangerous, right? Because when you are a Toastmaster, you prepare your speech, you go in front of people and you talk about it and people give you feedback and all that, you know. And I've competed also in Toastmaster conference. So talking on stage is not a problem for your darling, you know. In 20 is it 17 or 18? 2018, became a DTM. Don't quote me on that. I can check on my social media. But between 2017 or 2018, I think I became or 2017 even, I became a distinguished Toastmaster, which is literally 1% of the population of Toastmaster, or 1% of the general population reach that level in the speaking career, in the Toastmaster career. So that's a big deal, right? So that already checked my confidence box that I can do this, you know. And yeah, let's give it a try. So when the pandemic hit, I started doing some live video to really see, you know, if that's going to be something that I'm interested in doing, just to test myself, right? And the response was encouraging. So week after week, people were responding back to me. People were waiting for my voice or for my opinion, and I love it. So I was like, maybe this is the time I should give it a go. So I got into making my cover, which we have not changed our cover because guess what? Cover is beautiful. Lady is still beautiful. Nothing has changed. So we kept that cover. And we created a cover, we launched our trailer, and then we launched what we know today as the Up Your Confidence podcast. So I started April 2020. Our first podcast was actually, if you guys recall, we were, oh gosh, 2020, right? April 2020. They already had somebody was on this other guy neck for how many minutes? I don't remember the whole situation of what was happening in 2020, right? So that podcast was really about that. The first one we had all my friends that are either married in mixed relationship because I really want to understand how do you talk to your family member and to your kids about race. And that kicked it off because we were like, if we're gonna come in, we gotta come in hot and talk about what people are not talking about, which is always what this podcast is about, right? This podcast is not covering topic that other people are talking about because we are talking about confidence, and confidence require you to be a little bit uncomfortable. So a few months later, you know, me being a professional and always wanting to craft and learn my craft better and do things the right way, I took a course of podcasting course because guess what? The algorithm knew that I was now a podcaster. So I saw this course either come in my feed or maybe in my email box. And I signed up for over 60 women, if I remember, right, in that class, or even more. But I just know that I kept in touch with about 15 of those ladies, and we learn about the art of podcasting, how to be consistent, how often you should post, you know. We learn all the nitty gritty. How do you look for guests? How often you should do your podcast? How do you publish your podcast? How do you advertise for your podcast? So I learned everything during that I think 10-week course or something, right? And I was already a podcaster, so this was good learning for me that I can actually practice on the go. So that experience showed me how far consistency can really take you, you know, and that was the way to go. So let's talk about consistency. I didn't set out to become a podcaster, you know, I choose to be one. The coach in the class advised us to choose the frequency we could stick with. So she's told us like the best podcasts do weekly, you know, and monthly is also good, but bi-weekly is the good middle, right? So I knew what worked for me was monthly. You know, I was a new mom. I just had a baby in 2019, and my son was barely a year. and I was running a business. I was juggling sometime a full time at one point, but I was committed. I wanted to commit it to something that I could be consistent. I could do it consistently forever and ever until I get tired of it, right? And I haven't been tired of it, but I committed to do one episode a month, and I stuck to it. But I remember that so many of my podcast friends wanted to go with what the teachers say, like, oh, we're gonna do weekly, you're gonna get burned out. Bi-weekly, you're gonna get burned out, you know. Some of them wanted to do topic that they were not passionate about. They wanted to do topic that was just exciting at the moment, you know. But and I'm telling you this because those are the reason why we are still here today. Because I, as the podcast owner or the podcaster, I chose to be consistent from day one and say, I'm doing one episode a month, maximum 12 episodes a year, right? And I also made some intentional choices. I was like, I don't want to just have guests on my podcast, right? I also want to share my own voice. So I was like, I'm going to be a balance of a solo episode and also guest episode. So we have a good 50-50 balance. And we have a whole plan. If you guys have been listening to this podcast, you know that I always do an episode in October because it's my birthday. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's so much going on. I always do episode in December because it's end of the year. I always do an episode in January and February. So that's already like 4 episodes out of 12 that I'm always doing, right? And then when April come, I also do an episode. So there's always gonna be my voice is always gonna be out there because it's my podcast, and I want to make sure that my audience hear from me consistently, you know. And also one thing that we decide, and that was an important decision, was choosing only featuring women as a guest. That was a very bold and difficult decision to make because in reality, it's very difficult to find guests. And now you're just going to say, I'm going to find only women guests. My whole idea when I was doing this was thinking for us, by us, for us women, by us women. And I was like, Lisette, I'm gonna make that a North Star that I'm always gonna be looking for a woman guest because there's always gonna be a woman that can react on a certain topic. And I have to tell you, sometimes I will meet somebody and I'll be talking to somebody, some guys, and I'll be like, oh, this is a good topic. And I want to be like, and they'll be like, oh, I can come on your top podcast. And they'll be like, bro, you can, because my podcast is only women. But that doesn't mean, you know, that men don't listen to my podcast. Men listen to the podcast a lot because I have a lot of example of men that see me at conference. They're like, man, I love your podcast. I listen to this episode, and then I even send it to my sister, to my wife, you know. So shout out to all the men that listen to our podcast. We are super grateful to you. You guys are always a great support, but only guests are women. So choosing our guests who walk out genuine, whose work are genuine respect to follow. That was also important to me because I wanted to make sure that I don't just pick somebody because they are like, you know, whatever they are, right? But I'm picking them because what they are doing is valuable to the topic that I'm talking about here for my audience. You know, I see them demonstrating, you know, um, I see them demonstrating how it's possible to up your confidence every day, you know. So that's really the idea. If I see somebody, I mean, meet at a conference and you have a great content that you share, I'm gonna be like, let me bring it to my up your confidence community. And we have a name finally. Like I'm doing the right thing. We have a name for our community now. Our community I call Elite Leader. You know, so up your confidence Elite Leader, and we're gonna tell you where we commemorate, where we meet, you know, because these are like the next stage of the Up Your Confidence. Now that the Up Your Confidence podcast. So we're gonna talk about that at the end. Let me make sure I stay on track and don't forget. So people sometimes ask me, you know, I know, and speaking with authenticity and I preparing thoroughly. Another thing that was important for me was if I'm gonna talk about it, I'm gonna talk about it, you know. And I've talked about so many things here. I talk about my fertility battle. I talk about challenge in my marriage. I talk about my own personal challenge, with work. I talk about boundary challenge. I talk about a lot of personal thing, and I also talk about a lot of great thing, I try to be as much as possible as vulnerable. I'm not huge on vulnerability, and I told you that, I'm still getting to like being quite vulnerable. It's just not something that I ooze. I'm not even vulnerable to myself. So how am I going to be vulnerable to you guys, so, but for me, I don't believe in vulnerability. I believe in authenticity. I believe in being authentic instead of trying to be vulnerable, because I think sometimes people can use your vulnerability to victimize you and to stick it back at you in a very victimizing way, and that is something that we don't do here. So authenticity is more important for me. So I'm very authentic. I speak with authenticity and I prepare it thoroughly. If you ever been a guest on our podcast, you know that we are extremely professional with how we treat our guests, because they take time to come here and give us, an hour, 45 minutes, and almost 2 hours of the time sometimes, because we go backstage with them before and after, right? So, and then they also have to do some preparation before they come. So I'm telling you a little bit of this so you understand that this is a lot of work that I have been putting on this podcast. So people sometimes ask me, I know I'm enjoying the podcast. I listen. So yes. So the reason why I'm still doing the podcast is because I enjoy the podcast. Plain blank. The day that I'm gonna be like, oh my God, this podcast is just too much work, I'm gonna stop, because that's how I am, because I'm not really getting paid to do this podcast. We have a couple of lightweight sponsor. We are looking for more huge box sponsor, but nobody tell me nobody really tell me what to do, which is the best thing on the planet, right? Nobody tell me, oh, you should talk about this, you should talk about this. I'm the senior producer. I have two producers that help me with just ideas, they bring it to me. But I'm the chief researcher. I do all the research, I approve the guests, I approve the topic, I approve the question, and I just get people to send me ideas, just like I ask people in my community, should we do this or should we do this? Or people, sometimes people suggest guests to me to follow, and then I'll follow somebody for like 6 9 months, understand their content, see if I really resonate with their content, if they're going in the direction. Because one thing you don't want to bring somebody on your platform, small as it is, on your podcast, and they start saying stuff out of like you know, really opposite to what we believe and what we are trying to curate here. So there's some work that goes into it. I'm sharing this for those of you that might be interested in, building a podcast. And I know I have a couple of friends that I have been encouraging to ask them to build a podcast, but to each his own. So the goal is not to scare you, but the goal is again to be transparent and be authentic about how does podcast work and why consistency build confidence. So, but the funny thing is, you're gonna find that that's extremely funny. Is I listen to my own podcast. Yes, I do. It's almost like anything. If you cannot consume your own product, why are you selling this product? So yeah, I listen to my own podcast all the time, because we are literally 5 year in. So I like to go to all episode. And you know what happened? I was on the plane, and I was once on a plane, and I was listening to one of the episode on boundary, because the last episode before this was boundary. So our latest episode that you guys are probably hearing before you listen to this one was on boundary, but that was not the first time we talk about boundary on the podcast. So I was traveling, and every time I'm traveling, I'm always working on my podcast and my book, because I learned from another podcast that when you are flying, your level of creativity and intelligence is 10x. So that's the moment where you get the best idea, the best revelation. So whenever I'm traveling, and I get an idea about some episode, I just start typing, and or I just start typing about my book, a chapter in my book. So that time I was like, oh, let me listen to my podcast because it's about an hour, right? Let me listen to this podcast on boundary so I can understand what have I already shared on boundary 2 years ago, and now the new episode on boundary I don't repeat, and I give something better so I could prep for my next episode. So my neighbor, a passenger next to me, she was a lady, and she was looking and she realized that I'm listening to myself. So she was like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah." And just like that, another listener was born. She took the information. She's like, "Oh, I'm so gonna listen." And now she's part of our community on WhatsApp. So even my daughter joined the episode when she was 10 years old. And she's already planning that she's gonna join when she's 15 next year. And you guys know that we never had a man on the podcast, but I know that when I post the next episode, which is going to be a love, I mentioned in that episode that, if you guys are interested and if the husband behave, I might bring him on the podcast for our 15-year anniversary, which is this year. So that might be something special. And my daughter is excited about producing that one because she's like, yes, she's going to produce it and ask us all questions. So we might have the first male guest, Mr. My husband, on the podcast this year. Stay tuned. It's going to be in October. All right. So, what I have learned in these 5 years running the Up Your Confidence podcast, and that's why we have this episode today, right? Confidence grow with consistency. And this is in every area of our life, right? Workout, consistency, grow your confidence. You start there. I literally saw one of my friend post that he's a weightlifter. He bench, right? And he was bench pressing, I don't know if it was 350, and that was like the maximum he can bench press. Well, I don't know nothing about that. And then he was at the gym and she saw a lady bench pressing 500. So he was like, oh, I gotta step up my game. And then he pushed himself to start bench pressing, and that day he was at 450. So consistency is a muscle also that get built. And I always say that confidence is also a muscle. So every day you got to flex it. The confidence you had last year is not going to help you this year. You got to continue flexing it so you can keep your confidence. So I didn't give up, even when it was hard. I had some month I didn't have anything to say. I was not mentally there, especially around time when I was dealing with grief, a time when I was dealing with loss, time when I was dealing with personal challenge in my business, personal challenge in my marriage, personal challenge in my health. I didn't want to do an episode, because another thing with my podcast is there's video attached to it, right? There's video and then there's audio. So if I'm not feeling good, I ain't gonna come on video and try to. And my whole idea around the podcast is authenticity. So I'm not gonna come and fake it. And you have seen people out there now that they come and they're having issue in their marriage and they're having all kind of crazy stuff. And for years, Jada Pickett Smith, for years, they don't tell you, and they had a reg table talk and they're not telling us exactly what it is, and you just lack authenticity. What happened to red table talk? I love that show, but then we all realized at the end that they were not, maybe they were authentic 50% of the time, but the other 50% of the time they were not. So that means if you're not ready to be authentic, don't be doing a podcast, because that's gonna shoot you in the foot. Sooner or later it's just gonna catch up to you. So every time I mess up, I learn something new and I show up again. If I couldn't do it, I just wouldn't do it. And I'll come back and tell you. When I was grieving my dad in summer 2023, I didn't have a podcast. What was I gonna come and tell y'all? Seriously. Seriously. So I didn't have a podcast at that time. I just didn't have a podcast. I didn't even have to announce that I'm not going to do a podcast. I didn't even feel like announcing anything. I just came back in October when I was feeling a little bit better and did a podcast about my grief journey. So you have to see that there was intentionality. There's always been a respect of my guests and the people that listen to my podcast, because it doesn't matter. Even if it's 5 people that listen, 25 people, 500, 5,000, 5 million, it's the same level of consideration that I'm pouring and giving to my guests from the jump, because that's how you create and respect people that give you the time and energy. That's really what it is. So every time I mess up, I continue to show up. And guess what? While we were just busy being us and doing us and staying focused on us and delivering value to you and to us too, because this, like I told you, I listen to my own podcast. So let me just tell you, I like what I hear. And in January, I just received this message that our podcast was recognized as part of the top 50 podcasts. So we were like number, oh, don't quote me. Were we number eight? I think number 8 or 18. I think number 8. I should know this, but it's been a while that came out. So number 8. And then we were the top 8 of top 50 in the self-esteem category. That day, just that information warmed my heart, because I didn't really set out to do anything like that. I just wanted to do what I do, which is everything that I just mentioned to you. But having that recognition was excited, was encouraging, and just really show that consistency build confidence. Okay. So what next, you might ask? Like, okay, Lisette, what you gonna do now, right? I'm expanding, obviously, right? Because we can't keep being a 5-year-old baby podcast and continue. We are creating a community under the podcast. We are becoming more intentional, more professional, more like a grown up. So we starting right there just on WhatsApp. And to be truthful, what triggered me to start doing that was that early in March, I just lost all my data on my WhatsApp group out of the blue. And I was so mad, so furious. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a community. I really need to know, because I used to just blast sender to everybody that I know when the podcast come in. The listener listen, people that the algorithm does what it does, and people just find us. We have people from at least, I haven't looked at the stat the last time. I should have looked it up. We have at least, the last time I looked, at least 10 to 15 countries that follow us, literally, that they listen to our podcast, right? So the data is out there. So we know people listen to our podcast. I remember 2021, the first time I came to Saudi Arabia, there was one lady that said, oh, when I introduced myself, I'm Lisette, I listened to your podcast. I was like, okay, now we are known here too. So don't believe that people don't pay attention. People pay attention and they know exactly what's going on. They might not be clicking the like on the Facebook page. They might not be, commenting as we ask them to do often. They might not be commenting on the YouTube, because usually human beings are just passive. When things are going well, they don't have any problem. But better believe I go naked on this podcast now, you're going to be like, what's going on? She went crazy. And you're going to start commenting. So that means to say when things are going positive, you really don't hear people, but we love to create a new community under the podcast, right? So join us on WhatsApp. We're going to put the link for the community work on this podcast note today. We are growing, and that also going to house so many things that we do, going forward. It's gonna have so many things, under the community umbrella. We have right now our boot club, which is the 3-year boot club. We have that. We have a podcast communication. We also have a focus to mastery coaching program over there, and we have the recession proof. So this might be the perfect time to talk about the recession proof. So the recession proof masterclass that I did was super successful. A lot of you miss it. A lot of you say, I wish I was live so I can ask my question. So I'm changing it up with my business coach. It's going to help me. We're going to set up a website and everything. You will be able to register online, and we're going to do a proper webinar. Now, this time it will not be on the social media platform, but we're going to go on Zoom particularly, right? And so I'm gonna make sure that I share the information multiple times and ahead of time, so you guys are available and ready for the Zoom meeting. And you're gonna show up in the Zoom. And what I'm probably gonna do, and I'm not sure if my business coach is gonna agree, is I might make you listen to the older video that's out there on YouTube and everything. And you're just gonna come, we'll review the information quickly, and then I'm gonna answer your question. I think that's more gonna be valuable, right? Instead of me lecturing again, I'm gonna answer your specific question in the live video that we'll do on YouTube. Okay. And we don't need to put that one anymore on Facebook or other thing because it's the same content. But this is gonna be curated just for the people that show up on the call. So the date is not out yet, but I'm trying to make it in this April month again as much as possible. Or the latest is gonna be early May, but I'm gonna try as much as possible to do it in April. I'm gonna get the date ready next week. Once my business coach, my business strategist, uh, complete everything for me. So that's something. The recession proof is important because I know as of today that I'm taping the podcast, I know how the economy look. I know how people are struggling. I know how it's difficult to find a job. I just know how things are difficult on all end here. And I am here to help you. I have been here. I've been through, if you want to talk about crisis, you know, I've been to the 2000 crisis. I was there. I've been to the 2008 crisis. Yes. And I've been through the 2019 crisis. And now we are in 2025, and here is another one. So would you not believe the person that have been to the 2000 crisis, the 2008 crisis, and the 2019 crisis? If I was choosing my coach that's gonna help me navigate this moment, I would choose the person that have been through all that, and they are still standing, looking beautiful, and looking confident. Because what's missing out there, and I'm just gonna say it, and I don't care if somebody, disagree with me because that's just the truth. What's missing out there right now is people are providing band-aid solution. They're telling you, oh, go here, do this, and I see you guys, you following them, you listen, you comment, they send you stuff in DM, and you're doing all this masking the wound. What we need is two approach, and that's what the recession proof masterclass was. That's why it was 3 days. We need two approach, but we broke it in 3 days. The first approach is the mindset, which is really working on building your confidence, which is something that we've been talking about for literally 9 years, literally 5 years on the podcast. So I have guess over guess. How do you build your confidence habit? I'm not gonna go back. I feel like I'm doing the master class already, but I'm not gonna do the master class. I'm gonna stay focused on the topic of the day. But let me finish. You got to build your unshakable confidence. So we talk about it on day one, how you build your unshakable confidence, all the things you can do, and there's so much more I can teach you on how to build your confidence. That's step number one. People belittle that step, but this is the step that will keep you going year over year. This is the step that will keep you going crisis over crisis. That's what it is. Step number two is pivoting. Every time there's a crisis, is the moment for you to pivot. The reason why you feel like there's a crisis is because you don't open your eyes and see that this is an opportunity for me to pivot. The best of them, the best of us, we pivot before the crisis happen. So that way, when the crisis is happening, we are already in pivot mode. So we like, we look at it from the side like, woo, fire. You know that emoji that people have, and there's a fire on the house next. That's how it sounds. You got to pivot before the crisis happen. And I talk about that. That's the next thing. I think I didn't even talk about it a lot because I'm realizing that I also did some pivot couple of years. So more data to share again on day two for you guys. And then day three, so in day two, we talk about how you're going to pivot. And the revolution right now is artificial intelligence. And boy, let me tell you, I'm so sick and tired of everybody and their mama talk about artificial intelligence. People that never even wrote a piece of code talking about artificial intelligence. But that's fine. That's what the technology is. So if you want anybody to talk to you about artificial intelligence, do you not want somebody that have been working in artificial intelligence for at least 17 years? I show one of my posts where I was talking about artificial intelligence in 20, what? 2007. Yeah, 2007. So nearly almost 19 years. So we have been doing this. So you want somebody that will give you the foundation, that will understand this is the career that I'm doing, this is the thing that I'm doing, and this is how you can pivot. This is where you're gonna find the training. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to talk to the recruiter. Because even your recruiter is figuring out. This is how you're gonna come in a company today and help them revamp the department, infusing artificial intelligence in everything that they're doing. Okay? So that's what we're doing on day 2. And then day 3, we get into the mechanic because everything is so far is just talking about approach. Then we get into the real mechanic of looking for a job. And I even want to go further in day 3 and say, if you're not looking for a job, how are you going to do some freelancing? How are you going to pitch yourself to startup, you know? So see, even from last time already, I already have new idea because things are changing every day, every day. So you, if you are listening to this, please reach out to me so that you get the link to join us for that masterclass that's going to happen on Zoom. Okay, the date is not out yet, but I already gave you like a breakdown of how it's gonna happen, you know, and you wanna be in the room so we can answer your question. So you have safety, psychological safety to answer your question. We can bust all the myths and give you a plan of action. Because if you know me, I don't talk, just talk. I always talk and back it up with action. And then we have the booklet available for you as well. So anyway, that's what we're doing. That was a long answer to just what we're doing next. And not only that, what are we doing also? You guys know I'm bilingual. I speak French, even though God help me only with AI now that I can be a best bilingual person that I can be. Yes, I use AI to translate everything that I do because I am gonna be rethinking in my head how do I say this in English, in French, right? So, but we have like a research team right now trying to figure out how we take all our old podcasts in English and translate them in French. I have not found the right solution, but we're still looking. But we also want to have an original podcast in French, not for up your confidence, but it's gonna be the same topic, kind of up your confidence, but we give it a total name. I'm not gonna share the name yet, but we'll do that in fall, once we figure out a couple of things here. And finally, you guys know about this. I've been talking about it forever. I'm writing the Up Your Confidence book right now. I thought I was done, but I wanted to do it the right way. So I got trained and coached by the best in the business. Luvi is my book coach. She is I think 5 or 6 time or 4 time New York bestseller. So I took her academy. I was greatly invited to be part of the accelerator for the whole year. So we finished the course. So now we are working on our book proposal. So I have my book ready, at least 60%, but now she's teaching her how to do it the right way because your girl want to be a bestseller, if anything. And when a book come out, it's not only going to come out in English, but it's also going to come out in French. So I have a lot of work ahead of me and I'm working on my proposal right now. It's due next month. So we are working in the background. So crossing all fingers that the book might come out, in the later 2026. That's my plan right now. By the grace of God, that's gonna happen. So we have been on that journey, and I'll be sharing update with you on this podcast and also in the community. Because I might throw in a chapter there and ask you what do you guys think. Just like I throw something in the community this week and ask if we should be talking about this podcast or another podcast. So just know that being in the community is going to be an amazing thing, right? Because I am trying to foster this mindset of elevating women without having a cat fight, without competition, but only elevation, only elevation. And what I love about this community is a global community. Yes, global community. We have women from Africa all over. We have women from Europe all over. We have women from Middle East, and we have women from the United States. So it's a global community, and we are growing every day. Okay. So to you, my listener, I really want to say thank you. thank you, because as I mentioned, let it be 5 listener, let it be 50 listener, 500 listener, 5,000 listener, 5 million, 50 billion listener. I thank you, because it always starts somewhere. So this has been an incredible ride. Whether you listen from day one or just find us today, I'm so grateful. Let this episode remind you something. You don't need to be perfect, which for me, let me repeat that sentence, because when I say I listen to my own podcast, that word is for me. You don't need to be perfect. And I teach that in Focus to Mastery. And sometimes I have to remind myself, perfection is a fade. Progress over perfection. That's the name of that module. Progress over perfection. So you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You know, and there's this image that I see across on social media sometimes. It's usually about workout. They say consistency is just doing a little bit every day, instead of just you don't do nothing and then finally you fill the cup up. Do a little bit. That's how you build your confidence, brick by brick. And you can do a little experimentation and just go to the podcast from the beginning. I know that family member, and I've talked about here that I'm born with a little bit of confidence. I know that for sure. It's built in the algorithm for me. It's built in the operating system from the beginning. But confidence is what allow you to go into uncharted territory. Confidence is what allow you to go from being somebody that work in one sector and go to another sector. Somebody that moved from one country to another country. Somebody that started business is one. I was literally telling my assistant this morning on a call that you have no idea how difficult it is to start a business in America and then try to run that same business somewhere else in Africa, right? You have no idea how much it is that you can live in the Middle East and you're running a business in Africa and also in the state. Yes, that's what I'm doing. So it's only confidence that can allow you to do that, because they're always going to be challenged. They're always going to be resilient, a problem, but you got to be resilient through it all. Okay. So I'm so grateful that you are here. Let this episode remind you that you just need to be consistent. That's how we build confidence brick by brick. Until next time, stay bold, stay true, and always up your confidence. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Up Your Confidence podcast. As always, our goal is to bring you meaningful, engaging, and candid conversation that will ignite a strong desire and determination in women so that they can achieve the great milestone both in personal and professional life. I will stay true to my mission of empowering, educating, and encouraging women to become confident and to actively pursue leadership role in work, in home, and every day. I'm a firm believer that there's absolute no limit to what women can achieve when it comes to their dream and goal. I sincerely hope that all the female listeners will take away valuable life skill lesson and encouragement that need to grow their confidence and unlock their highest potential. We really hope that this podcast has encouraged you today to be more assertive, utilize your voice to speak up, speak out, and make yourself heard. Thank you, and until next time, stay healthy, stay blessed. Bye.
If you know anything about me, you know that I'm a knowledge broker. I mean, every time I find something that is good and working for me, I cannot wait to share it. And that's the case with Black Girl Vitamin. I have been dealing with a lot of personal health since 2 months ago, and I'm lacking my vitamin D. My cholesterol is high. My sleep is not well. So some of my joints are hurting me, and just I need my skin to look beautiful. And I have been taking some pills here and there. Then I stumbled upon Black Vitamin after I came back from one of my women conference. Then I love it. I order my pack. Within a week, I could see the difference. I could see my energy. I could see the glow. So I really want to tell you, get into Black Vitamin. I'm getting my vitamin D from them. I'm getting my collagen from them. I'm getting my cholesterol from them. I'm getting my CMO from them for energy and to boost my immune system. I could not be any happier. And again, woman owned, Black brand. That's what we love on the Up Your Confidence podcast. So get into it. Use the link below here and get into Black Girl Vitamin. It's going to change your game. It's going to make you happy. It's going to make you glow. Thank you.